Alan's distracting me. God. I know I'm slow. I got to get back to the Zoom. I'm sorry. Welcome, everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Quest Show. I am Lana Quest, and this is my co-host, Honor. How you doing, Honor?
Hey.
Hey, everyone.
Good to be back.
Oh, we are back, aren't we? It has been a while. Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's someone handsome in the building, and not only is he handsome, he is a candidate for senator coming out of Florida, U.S. Senator. So we're going to get to our discussion with Alan in just one moment. But if you are new here, please subscribe, hit that thumbs up button, and we're going to get into the show. I have actually interviewed Mr. Ellison before. It was great up on YouTube channel 323, What's Up People News. So we're going to do something a little different. We're going to allow Alan to tell you a little about himself, and then we're just going to have a comfortable discussion about his campaign and politics and things like that. Something informal. So Alan, you want to tell everyone about yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Alan Ellison, running for the United States Senate to represent your interests in the United States Congress. I'm a husband, a father. My daughter, she's 10, Christmas baby. So she'll be 11 in a couple of weeks. But sometimes it seems like she's 32 and she's my boss.
You know how that is.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a and the thing is, I grew up the son of a pastor. My mother was a special needs teacher, and I learned a great deal about service from my parents, actually. And so the thing that my father taught me about was understanding one's gift. And I've always known my gift was helping other people. It is the very thing that defines my existence in this world. It's tied directly to my purpose, and I take it very seriously. So I'm running for the United States Senate because I fundamentally believe that it is a way for me to maximize my gift to be able to help other people. And so I've been running for the United States Senate for a year now. I launched my campaign November 23rd of 2020 to unseat Senator Marco Rubio because I believe that he is in office, but not necessarily working for the people. And if you really believe that we need leaders in the United States Congress that are really about looking out for those who have not, then I'm your guy. And hopefully tonight we'll get a chance to talk about the things that drive me, my why, and why I'm the best person to represent Florida's interests in the United States Senate.
That was a great introduction. Thank you, Alan. So I do have a question. I have a few questions. What's the toughest part about running for office, do you think? What's been your toughest part?
I think the toughest part, there's a lot of tough parts, but the toughest part is probably running as long as I've been running, because my election is a year away and I've already been for a year, but it's staying the course and making sure that you are speaking to the issues that matter to the people, which means that you have to spend a lot of time engaging with people. And so, it is taxing on the mind, it's taxing on the body, and it does take a lot out of you. But I feel that the people are worth it. And so that's why I spend so much time holding town halls every single month. It's why I spend so much time answering questions from people, because I feel that most people feel as if members of Congress do not do enough to answer the questions that they have. I feel that most people feel that they're not getting the constituent services like they should. And so I spend a great time trying to help people, not only, but really across the country, because, once you're in the United States Senate, you literally representing the country, not just the state.
Right.
And I think the toughest thing is trying to make sure that, we are helping as many people as we can to help people.
Sorry, that was my phone. Like, oh my God, turn the phone down. Sorry, go ahead.
So as you've seen, we spend a lot of time trying to solve problems for people, and it keeps me at night. And it's hard for me to sleep whenever I know that there's, like right now, there's a person that reached out to the campaign in Chicago that was being evicted today. And we were trying our best to make sure that we can pull resources together to eviction process, because they know this is the kind of thing that our campaign does. We help people no matter where they are, all sorts of issues. And so this is the toughest part of the campaign, is making sure that you are doing what's necessary by the people. And it's something that members of Congress should be engaged with, but we don't see enough. And I think that if we had members of Congress who were or who are like really care about the people and what they're dealing with, then they probably wouldn't be sleeping at night as well.
Right. So you said that it's engagement, and it is really getting out there and talking to people. What are some of the things that you have done to engage other people of color, the Latino community, Asian community, because we know Florida is a very diverse state. It has a large Latino and Cuban population. What are some of the things that you put in place to speak to those people as well?
Well, we're the only campaign that has formed partnerships with Latin-based television and radio-based entities. I'm the only person out of 23 candidates that have done a couple of interviews with Telemundo.
That is awesome. Okay.
Across the aisle and reaching a diverse population. The other thing, go to events, very, very diverse events. There are 67 counties in Florida. We have pretty much all of the counties to do face-to-face events, but also we have a monthly town hall that changes on the theme. And we make sure that we are trying to reach every single demographic and find out all of the issues that they're dealing with. And sometimes we have experts who come on, like we had about 3 town halls on the state of Cuba, where we brought all walks of life from the Cuban community to speak about those issues. We had conversations with Haitians whenever we were dealing with the earthquake and the hurricanes and all of those things that the Haitian community was dealing with. And we have, conversations. We reach across the aisle in different demographics using different social media platforms. Like I may be the only candidate out of 23 candidates running for this seat that has a Roblox account, a TikTok, a Discord account. And it's all about engaging people from so many different walks of life. And because we are the most engaging campaign, we're able to reach 10 million people every 28 days without spending a single dime in ad spending.
Wow.
And so engagement is something that is central to our campaign, because if we look at the history of the state of Florida and we look at like what national politician has been able to win Florida, the last one who did it was Obama. And it was because he was able to reach across a wide spectrum of demographics to speak to the issues that people were dealing with. And he inspired people, he brought hope. And so there hasn't been a candidate since then on the national level to do that. And therefore, every one of them have lost Florida. So I know that if we're going to win Florida, we have to be engaging. We have to inspire voters. And we have to get them out. And the best way that I've found that it works is to make sure that we are listening to what the voters are saying. The only way we can listen, we have to create platforms in order for them to be able to communicate what's on their hearts and what's on their minds. So that's why we have that's why we have the Fridays for Florida. That's why we have the Power Hour chat, where on Twitter, I'm answering as many questions as I can inside of an hour, because it gives people an opportunity to talk. It gives them an opportunity for me to listen. And when I'm listening, I'm also, my team and I, we're working on solutions, whether policies or just solutions that can like help them right away. And so of that, through our Power Hour chat, we've been able to help people to get drug treatment programs paid for, roofs on houses, hot water heaters fixed. We've been able to evictions, raise money for housing, got tents for people without homes. And it's all because we are the most engaging campaign running for the United States Senate. And I was across the country.
Right. And you really are engaging. And just with that being said, you're engaging like on so many areas of social media, like you said, TikTok, you're like Instagram, you're Twitter, but with that engagement comes haters, right? How do you deal with those people? Because I know you're getting them left and right. Gotta be, because I get them and I'm not, my account's not your size, so I can't even imagine what you're getting.
Well, you know, and this is something that a lot of people don't know about me, but before becoming a politician, I used to be a publicist and a sports agent, and I represented celebrity athletes and entertainers from around the world. At one time, my company handled clients on 3 different continents. And being behind the scenes, I have watched whenever you're building a brand, I've seen people come out with so much love, but I've also watched the hater group grow. So I knew that running for this particular seat, my brand would grow, my message would get out, but it would also attract those types of individuals who, for whatever reason, show up in this world the way that they do. And so the thing about it is you have to always understand your why. And it's something I talk to my campaign staff about, like on Mondays, whenever we're having our Getting Social with Alan. This is where we give campaign an opportunity to talk to me, ask questions, so they get a better understanding of who I am, so that they can go back and amplify my message. And I tell them that you have to understand why you're doing something. Right. And so this, the way that I see it, is something that's bigger than me. So I put myself out there. I'm open like a book, and I don't mind people challenging me because oftentimes it makes me stronger. I don't mind the haters coming at me any kind of way, because it also gives me an opportunity to display a level of intelligence, a level of excellence, and education for those who might be watching the conversation. So sometimes you see somebody come at me wrong about my mask, me wearing a mask. Like somebody said, you know, why are you wearing that mask? You're just weakening your immune system. So people come at me in that. It gives me another opportunity to educate the public about, you know, what's real and what's science. And I believe that, you know, and I used to say this working in the barbershop, that comprehensive opinion does not mean one has in-depth and or factual knowledge of the subject matter at hand, for we all have an opinion, but we don't all possess the facts. And when you the opinions on the scales of life, it's the facts that carry the most weight. And so I don't mind people giving me their opinion, but the thing I will never allow anyone to do is to give me their opinion and preface it like it's a fact. Right. So you can try me like that if you want to, but I'm going to give you the facts. And I think my audience appreciate that. And so.
Yeah, definitely. Since you're weakening your immune system, like that doesn't even make any sense. So it's like the doctors that do your surgery and they have the mask on. But you want them to take their mask off while they're doing your surgery? Like, no.
You know, these arguments they're not new. And it's always a good thing to have learned some history. And I ran into this scenario in Osceola County at a school board meeting. And there were about 100 people that were going to that podium. And I was just sitting there for 3 hours, taking it all in. And when I finally got a chance to go to the podium and speak for 3 minutes, I took every one of those arguments and I basically reduced it down to this right here, that none of these arguments are new. These are the same arguments that people were having in 1918 during the pandemic. And these arguments turned into an organization that was created called the Anti-Mask League. And they were masks weaken their immunity. They were claiming that mask wearing was something that was violating their freedoms and violating their rights and their civil. They made all of these same arguments, and it got to a point where they began to protest in the streets by the thousands. And sometimes those protests ended in melees. But those melees and all of that, those events really became known as super spreader events. And because of those anti-mask arguments and those anti-mask actions that they were taking, it moved the pandemic into a second and a third phase, ultimately killing 670,000 people out of the 50 million Americans that it infected. It killed 50 million people worldwide out of the 500 million people that it infected. And so, like I tell people all the time, we have learned through history, we have learned through science, we have learned through math. And for those who haven't, we've learned through common sense that masks work. And so, you know, for anybody otherwise, they don't have math on their side. They don't have history on their side. They don't have science on their side, and they don't have common sense on their side.
Well, you know, that tells us one thing. The Republican playbook definitely is nothing new. Right. Because we're almost 100 years later and the same message is being spread. So, yeah, that just lets you know they've been playing the same tricks for a long time now, a very long time.
And no one's learned, specifically the Democrats.
Well, yeah. So as you've been out there talking to people, what are people's most pressing concerns? What are you hearing the most of?
You know, the thing is, and I tell people this all the time, when you're campaigning in such a large race, it's almost as if every county has a different themed issue. Counties where the population is a little older, they're focused mostly on like healthcare. When the population is a little bit younger, like say Orange County, they're thinking about college tuition, student debt. When you're in places where there's a lot of water, like in Florida, people are talking about red tide, blue-green algae, environmental issues. It just depends on where you are. But I will say this, because there are literally 55,000 different issues that impact millions of people, what our campaign has done is we've tried to condense all of the issues into one issue, and that is the issue of improving everyone's quality of life. And very comprehensive undertaking. But I feel as if we can take care of healthcare, if we can make sure that each and every citizen has healthcare without going broke, if we can make sure that every American can at least have a universal basic income, those two things alone would put us on par with the rest of the developed world. There are 33 developed nations that currently have some type of a universal basic income. And every one of those same countries also have some type of a universal healthcare system. America is the only country that does not. So I feel as if we could do that, as well as to make sure that college education is free, then we can significantly improve the quality of life for every citizen. The problem with it is that right now, conceptually, people want it, but there hasn't been anybody to come up with a sustainable model that can pay for it. Some people say, well, we can just print money up and pay for it, but you know, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
We come up with a sustainable model, and it's something we're working on right now. And there are several ways. a model that is not only sustainable, but a model that doesn't allow us to get bogged down into the philosophical, political debate that takes place in Congress that also allows us not to move forward. And that is, are we going to raise taxes on certain individuals in our society to pay for it, or are we going to cut existing programs in order to pay for it? Those are the two arguments that exist, and those are the two arguments on why we can't move forward.
Right.
The reality is that both of those levies a burden on Americans,
Right.
but there are other options. And as a progressive, I believe that we should be thinking outside of the box to be able to create sustainable models that don't raise taxes on individuals and that don't force us to cut existing programs in order to pay for new ones. And some of the ways that we could do that is we could legalize cannabis across the country and use revenue from that. That would generate, I believe, $132 billion over 5 years. Those new funds will definitely be sustainable. And we could use that to pay for something like a universal basic income where every American can get $1,500 a month for the rest of their life. We could do things like tax the sale of our privacy data because it's taking place every day, but we get no benefit for it.
Right.
If a Facebook page, an Instagram page, or any social media page that you have downloaded to your phone, they are requesting certain permissions to gather information to sell it. You make millions of dollars off of your data, and you get nothing in return for it, except for a bunch of advertisements that are targeting you based on your.
Right.
We can take the sale of that privacy data and tax it. We can then utilize those funds to have a universal basic income and a universal healthcare system. We could also pay for college tuition with that. We need to be able to strengthen our trade practices because right now we're literally buying more than we're selling as a country. And that is an unbalanced trade policy that we've been under for so long. And we need to fix that because we can use revenues from our trade to pay for some of these programs. We could also build more public-private partnerships whereby the government is literally partnering with private industry and utilizing revenue from the profits of private industry to pay for programs. We already do it. We just don't do it at the level that we could do it. And suggesting that we partner with Amazon, but I just want to use Amazon as a model, for example. Amazon brings in more revenue, more profits than our government brings in.
Imagine that.
Imagine we were to partner with an entity like Amazon. People say, well, what do we bring to the table? We have 191 relationships with countries. We could leverage our relationships with countries and bring American businesses into those countries and get a piece of the pie from standpoint and utilize the revenue from that to pay for programs. And guess what? We could really, if we do this right, I want to see us eliminate the tax system because you don't need a tax system in order to run your government. You only need a tax system when you have leaders who are not creative enough to be able to think of other ways to generate revenue.
Right. They're like, we just tax everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Uncle Sam.
Everybody that can't afford to be taxed.
Exactly. You got poor people. You got rich people who want to, get from under it using tax loopholes. And as long as, the tax loopholes exist, the only people who are going to suffer are the people who have already suffered. Throughout American history, wealthy people have always found a way around the tax code. It's the poor who get the bad end of the stick. And so we just have to be, a lot more creative. But that's why we elect officials because they're supposed to be the big thinkers. They're supposed to be the solution bringers and the people who can, solve these problems. But what we end up with is just a bunch of average people who still don't know what they're doing. They can talk a good game, but when they get in there, they're there for 5 years, 11 years. And when you look up, they haven't accomplished anything.
Right. Absolutely. And that's one of the things I like about all of you new candidates and the ones that, we specifically have talked to, like, Lauren Hubbard, Jesse Philippe. Your ideas are so progressive, right? Like you all come with all of these different types of ideas that we just haven't heard before. And it's like these old Democrats really need to open their ears. They really need to start getting behind you guys and stop getting behind the same old people all the time that aren't bringing any fresh new ideas. It's like they just get in line. So those are the people that you're giving all the money to. Those are the people that you're backing. And that's unfortunate because people like you have to fight, for your money and get, your grassroots. You have to go grassroots because the Democratic Party kind of forgets about you. They're backing, the Val Demings and, the brand names, I guess.
Well, the brand names, they bring in money. And so you have, consultants who want to get paid, and you have PACs who want to siphon off of the brand name.
Right.
And so about the money. And that's one of the reasons why I support For the People Act, because what it does is, it does a lot, but one of the provisions in For the People Act, it removes money out of politics. And if we can ever get money out of politics,
it would be a vastly different game.
It would be a completely different.
It would be equity. It would almost be like equity in the political game.
In the voting, and in the voting process, because like you said, the more progressive candidates that are running out here that have you, Lauren, Jesse, and others have some fantastic ideas on how to get this country moving forward. And we've noticed, we had Brent on a couple of weeks back, and, he spoke about the challenges of, the financial aspects of it and getting the endorsements and things like that. Like, what are some of the things that you have noticed? Because you've been doing this for a year now. What have you noticed as far as financials and getting the money and things like that? How is that progressing for you?
Well, the thing is that what money buys is money buys access to voters. And the thing that I've learned, even before becoming a politician, is that he who controls the media controls the people. And always who can reach the people. You can do that through earned media opportunities, or you can do that through paid media. A campaign who has deep pockets can definitely buy media. And so of my who have raised millions of dollars, they have spent millions of dollars on paid media. We're utilizing strategies from my marketing background. We're utilizing creativity. We're utilizing inspiration, motivation, and we're utilizing social media in a way where we're still able to compete even without spending a single dime. And so, again, that is why I support For the People Act, because if we can ever remove money out of politics, then we're going to be forced to deal with candidates based on their vision, based on their ideas, based on that they can bring, and the people will really get a chance to see who's who and how the candidates measure up. Me personally, I don't believe that there is a candidate in my race that can measure up to my vision, that can measure up to the solutions that I can bring. Because one of the things is, this is what I went to school for. I'm a political scientist. I've studied this. I know what's going to work. I know what's not going to work. I have the opportunity to look at ways to fix our country. But the sad thing is, and to answer the original question, the hardest thing is to get mainstream attention, because the party does pull the strings of certain media outlets. I'm not on CNN. I'm not on MSNBC. I'm not on any of these things. But yet and still, I have a very powerful message, and that message is cutting through all of the red tape. It's cutting through all of the challenges. And at the end of the day, we are still able to reach millions of people without millions of dollars. We're able to reach millions of people without the backing of the party. We're able to reach millions of people without mainstream media. And we're going to continue to reach people. At the end of the day, a lot of times it's really about whose brand is bringing in the most money, because eventually that money trickles up to the party. In fact, who are in the party, who are in office, who are spending at least 4 hours of every day raising money for the party. 4 hours out of every day takes away a lot of time from the work of the people. And so I'm working towards becoming a self-funded campaign. That's my goal, because I don't want to be beholden to anyone other than the. And if you wonder, a lot of times you have congressional members and senators who have been in office for so long but haven't accomplished anything. It's because they're so busy returning favors for people or for entities that are not the people. And I learned when I was a political science major, there was a business gentleman. He owned the 20th largest oil gas pipeline company in America. And he was a professor at the college that I was going to. I used to spend a lot of time with him talking about business and different things. And whenever I would be in his office, I would always notice that these politicians would be calling his office begging for money. And so one day I asked him, I said, how come you don't run for office? He said, do you see all the phone calls that I receive of politicians begging for money? He said, whatever I need, I can just call on one of them, and they'll be obligated to get me whatever I need because I give them so much money. And I never forgot that, because if you're taking money from these types of entities, not these type of entities, I'm talking about institutional entities, political action, special interest groups, if you're most of your money from them, then whenever you're in office, you're obligated to do all of the things that they want you to do if you want to continue getting their money for the very next campaign. And so, I've always wanted to be self-funded. And again, that's what I'm working towards, because I have a lot of ideas, but every one of those ideas are about improving the quality of life for the American people. And if I'm going to have any chance on doing that, then I don't need to take those types of entities' money. And so my fundraising isn't as strong as some of my opponents who are elected officials or have been elected officials, but our outreach is stronger than theirs. Our engagement is stronger than theirs. And because we have the strongest outreach, because we have the strongest engagement, our numbers when it comes to how many people we're reaching are, if they're not equivalent, they're probably stronger. And so it all balances out if you're doing the right things for the right reasons.
Right. Wow. So you've been running for about a year, you said. I think you said about a year or so. So have you ever thought about, especially when, Val finally announced that, she threw a hat in the ring, did you ever think about throwing in the towel? Because I know you had a lot of naysayers and people saying, why don't you just bow out? Why don't you run for governor? Why don't you, run for like the local garbage man? Like they were just trying to get you out of there. It was crazy. But did you ever like sit down and say, wow, should I throw in the towel? Like, did you ever get to that place?
I've whenever you're running for a political office, you have to consider every possible scenario. And so, yes, I've considered those scenarios, but I have to always go back to my why. And my why is comprehensive as well. One of the reasons that I'm running is because there are issues that simply go overlooked. Election cycle after election cycle, And no matter who gets into office, it seems that there are people who don't have a voice in the state, and there are people who don't have a voice in our country. And when I look around this state and when I look around this country, I realize that our society is broken up between those who have and those who have not. And it is the have-nots that make up the vast majority of those who need a champion. And so about improving the quality of life, I can go into a great deal of detail of all of the little issues that make up our society. Immigration, like you would think that Marco Rubio would be working on immigration to help make it easier. You would think, right? But people who need help in that arena, they don't have a champion. You would think that it was 1963 that the Equal Pay Act became law. You would think that women would be paid equally to a man for equal work, but that is still not the case. One of the things that I want to be able to do is to get in office and to rectify a lot of the wrongs that's taking place in our society. I would want to write a piece of legislation that not only created an entity that investigated every employer in this country to make sure that they are paying women the same wage as a man for equal work. But I also want to make sure that if we find out that there are violations, we want to go back to 1963 and get back pay for every woman that has ever been paid less than a man. And like I think that there are people in Congress right now that they would have already done it years that they have been in the United States Congress, but they have. You would think that with a piece of policy that I have that was presented to 80 members of Congress, 40 of which are veterans, that they would have taken this piece of policy that I have to curb the rate of suicide among our veterans. You would think that with all of the housing issues that exist in the state and around the country, you would think that somebody would have already come up with a way to help with this issue. And so when I'm around and I still see all of these problems, it doesn't matter who's in front of me.
Right.
Part of my why is to raise significant awareness on the issues that matter, if for no other reason than to just do that. But I believe that once I'm in the United States Congress, then that's something that I'm going to have to do. And so when you think about members of Congress who have been in there for years and haven't written a single piece of legislation.
You're right.
As quiet as it's kept. Years and years and years.
So like I told somebody before, it doesn't matter how much money a politician raises. You have millionaire politicians who don't do anything for you. Doesn't matter how big a politician's name is. What good is their name if it's not working for you? And most people cannot tell you a single piece of legislation that any one of these politicians have written that has had a direct positive benefit and positive impact in their life. And that's sad.
That is that mic drop.
Yeah.
I know, for real. Like, what?
I'll take it a step further. It's not enough for you to be a politician and you've accomplished so much for yourself, but you haven't accomplished for the people.
Nothing for your constituents. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You have another question, Sean?
Well, this was, kind of off topic, but it is very relevant to today's news and also what you said about being a voice for the people, the Ahmaud Arbery verdict. What message do you think that sends on top of Kyle Rittenhouse, on top of Derek Chauvin, on top of the Daunte Wright trial that is happening now? I mean, it's kind of like a hodgepodge of some justice, but not, but yes, but no. Like, what message is out there at this point? You
know, what the message that these cases are sending is that you have to go over and beyond in order to convict somebody. so obvious that they should be convicted for.
Right.
The thing that I take away from this is that we need more people who think like us going into fields of law. We need more people who think like us to go into political offices. We need more people who think like us to start becoming more civically engaged, because enough to sit home and feel some type of way. We have to do more. We have to do more. And my takeaway is that I'm glad that I am running for the United States Senate in order to be able to write policy, in order to affect positive change, not only in our society, but really in our justice system, because it doesn't take long before you start to realize that there are some areas in our legal system that need reform. It is not always just, and it is not always fair and equitable for people who look like you and I. And so in order to change it, you have to change it from the inside. We can't just continue to just march and stay on the outskirts and complain. We have to get involved. And that's one of the reasons that I'm running. I remember growing up where people in my community were being charged for garbage pickup services for like 30 years, but we never saw garbage pickup. Most people. And so, when you look at communities that look like ours, I believe that you can't continue to allow those who don't know who you are, don't know where you come from, don't care that you exist, to represent your interests when they don't even know what that interest is.
Right.
For me, I'm going to continue to fight. I'm going to continue to encourage young men and young women to go to law school, run for office. It doesn't matter which office it is, just run for office so that at least you can make an impact in your community, in your world. And if we all do that across the country, I think we'll start to see more change happening in our society. But those cases, sometimes they're very disheartening. Sometimes they make me angry. Sometimes these cases make me feel vulnerable, and I don't like to feel vulnerable. So it's one of my whys. I'm running so that I can make change.
Right. Wow. Well, my last question, you kind of answered it. I was going to ask you, what advice you had for anyone thinking about running, because we know like you said, we do need people to be more civically engaged, because the Republicans, right, as we talk, are now, putting people in place to try to turn over and the elections that are coming up. So we definitely need to have more people in place ourselves. So what advice do you have? I know you just kind of gave some advice, but because we need people to step up to the plate. It's one thing to be Twitter warriors, right? But there's another thing for us actually to get engaged. You're still kind of complicit if you're just on your keyboard. We really need to be active. We have to activate to make change.
As the thing is that if you are not the type of person who will be out front, then the very least that you can do is help push somebody a little bit further ahead. Running for office isn't for everybody. To be honest, I don't like this aspect of it, but it is necessary. I mean, I don't getting up in front of people and just talking. I mean, it's.
Now, come on, you're gonna sing that? Aren't you gonna sing our outro? You singing our outro?
I might. I mean, like I said, I put myself to the side so I can reach people with what I've been given to say. But it is something that's not for everybody. And for so long, for most of my life, I was the person behind people, pushing them to do what they need to do. So if you're not that kind of person who will get out front, then at least get behind somebody and push them with everything you have. your financial resources if you can. Figure out ways to amplify their message. And one of the best things you can do if you're a writer is to become a publisher too. You know, you have daily costs where you can publish your writings. You have medium.com that you can write. So if there's a candidate out there, you can become a publisher and amplify their message. And so what that does is that if the candidate has a really strong message that resonates with you, your world, your community, then help that candidate to get that message out and challenge people around you to do the same thing. Because we do it with frivolous stuff, with viral videos, and that, but we're not sharing the type of things that we need to be sharing that's going to have real positive weight in our worlds. You know, the thing is, I try to tell people this as a political scientist, we have to educate our voters, because a more educated voter will more than likely vote for the best leader for the state, for the country. And we have to also make sure that we are learning about how policy directly impacts our world, because if we can start learning that at a greater level, then we're going to start to see more Democrats be elected, because Republicans writing any policy that positively impacts people, they're writing policies that hurt people. And that's when we think about just this pandemic, in the last 2 years, we have lost so many people, we have lost so many businesses, we have lost so many. And what we have been left with is a bunch of depression, a bunch of stress, a bunch of new health issues that are COVID related. And what people need more than anything right now is inspiration, motivation, and resources. And when you think about all of the policies that have come out of the Democratic Party, it has been the Democratic Party that has been there for the American people, whether it was through the CARES Act, the HEROES Act, the American Recovery Plan, the Build Back Better plan. Like, all of these things have come out of the Democratic side. The only thing we've seen that come out of the Republican side was a bunch of scare tactics and just rhetoric that is not benefiting anybody. And so if we continue to educate people about policy and how it has directly impacted their world, then we can pull more people over to our side. And I tell people all the time, like I said, you are a beneficiary of a Democratic policy.
Yes.
Like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. I said, well, let me ask you a question. Did you go to college? Yeah. Well, how did you pay for it? With the Pell Grant, Stafford loan? Well, guess what? Those are Democratic policies. Well, what else? Because not once you tell them that, they want to know what else. Well, are you retired? Are you getting Social Security? Are you going to get, any of these benefits? These are Democratic programs. Republicans come up with this stuff. Democrats did. So at some point or another in life, you are going to benefit from a Democratic program. And that is how we have been able to pull a lot of Republicans over to our campaign, simply by educating them to let them know that it's Democrats that's improving the quality of your life, not your party that you're affiliated with. It's the one to be affiliated with.
Right.
I'll never forget this one time when Obamacare was on the verge of becoming signed by the president. It hadn't been signed yet, but it had passed the houses and it was getting ready to be signed. And the Republicans were trying to demonize the Affordable Care Act by calling it Obamacare. And I remember this lady reached out to me on Facebook, and she was complaining that Obamacare had caused her insurance to go up. I think this was in November. And I said, you don't think that it's probably insurance company greed trying to make extra money?
Right.
No, that Obamacare. So I'm like, you know what? In my mind, Obamacare hasn't even become law yet, and you're already. I said, well, what would you rather have? Would you rather have the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare? I'd rather have the Affordable Care Act. Anything but Obamacare. I said, are you sure you would rather have the Affordable Care Act? Absolutely. But I can't deal with this Obamacare. So once I got her to commit to her level of ignorance, I said, well, what if I told you that Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act are the same piece of policy? Oh, no, they're not. I'd rather have the Affordable Care Act, not that Obamacare. I said, what if I told you that the Obamacare hasn't actually come into effect yet? It comes into effect in January. This is November. Didn't have anything to say. But once I realized that this person was on the ropes, then I started educating. I said, maybe what you're referring to is something that you may have heard on Fox News. I said, oftentimes media outlets will try and create a narrative for people to buy into. And I said, you have bought into the idea that Obamacare is something bad and it's causing your insurance to go up without even realizing that you have a private insurance company. And I said, insurance companies, their premiums are always going up.
Every year.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you never once thought that it was because you're dealing with a greedy insurance company. You were so ready to jump on the bandwagon that it's because of Obama and not insurance company greed. I said, so this is just one scenario to show you that you are buying into something that you're hearing as opposed to actually know about. I said, furthermore, have you taken the time to read the hundreds of pages of this policy to see how you know?
Of course not.
Well, I have. And I can actually give you a simplified version of what it's saying. And I said, for example, do you not need mammograms? Oh, this is one of the pieces of policy in this legislation that it helps women to get free mammograms. So you don't want to get that? And I talked about a few other things, but once she began to understand that there was some truth that overshadowed all of the twisted lies that was coming out of Fox News, she became very open to learn even more beyond healthcare, beyond the initial conversation. And that's why it's so powerful for us to engage with voters in these type of forums, to engage in voters in the forums that I've created, because it educates them, and that level of education will inspire them. And when they're inspired, they will get out and vote, and they will share that information the same way they do with viral videos.
Right. This is great, but we know that you are such a busy man. Do you have anything else, Shell?
I don't. It has been great speaking with you, getting a chance to talk to you, hear how the campaign is going, hear your ideas once again. We need to get the dark money out of campaigns, like you said, get this PAC money out of here, because we need change. And it's definitely going to be with the younger, progressive, more out of the box thinking candidates like yourself. So
yeah, we definitely appreciate you, and thank you for interviewing with us again. But before you go, I do want you to tell people, I'll put your information in the description, but you can tell people where they can donate, because donations are always welcome, guys. Donate, follow you on social media, because you have something for everybody. And video games, which you didn't even talk about. You got something for the people's kiddies too, where they can see you.
Absolutely. So please find me on the website at allenellison.com. Read through our policy, see what we are about. If you like what you've heard here tonight, then please make a contribution. Your contributions help us to reach further. And what I mean by that is we utilize your contributions to help us to pay for software, campaign management systems that allow us to amplify our message. And the other thing is we're always looking for volunteers. Our tent is wide, it's diverse. We have thousands of volunteers from across this country, from every single state. And people get a chance to connect with one another, learn. They learn on this campaign. They learn a great deal of policy, learn a great deal of about who I am. And the other thing is, please consider at least amplifying the message of the campaign. If you have a Twitter account, amplify us on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and if you have, I occasionally jump onto Roblox with my daughter, and we play video games on there. And while I'm inside of Roblox, I like to encourage the kids because they are the future. And so I may be the only politician in the world that's on Roblox, and every one of those kids know exactly who I am. And so very happy about that. But yeah, have your children come on there, learn something new. We try to stay away from the political talk, but I do a lot of encouragement because sometimes these children are on these programs and on these platforms. They are trying to connect because somewhere in their world, around the world, they may be depressed, they may be going through something. And so I realize that after seeing it a few times. And so I just try to be a light in a world of darkness for as many people as I can. And the thing is that I can't do everything and I can't run this campaign on my own. We need you. We need you to be a part of our team. So please join us, amplify us, make a contribution. And if you can, check me out on TikTok. I'm riding skateboards. I think I might get on the piano and something for Christmas for you all. But
okay. Awesome. Now you do have to sing us some kind of outro because I didn't get to ask you any speed round questions, and I would have put like some type of song in there. So now you can sing us an outro, and happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Same.
Yes. Yes. A tune, you can hum it, and then we just go outro on out. Yeah. I know, I put you on the spot. Come on. You're a politician. You're a politician. You got that. You got this. Got this. What do you listen to in the car?
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, and just like the ones I used to know. May your days be lovely and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
I can't even believe you know that song. Thank you, Alan, for coming on. We appreciate you. Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Have a good night, everybody.
Nice to meet you.